I think that the narrative of religion is sort of like moral training wheels for them. And I'm worried that by taking away their training wheels, that will have effectively tipped them over. And I don't think there is a effective secular substitute for people who are fundamentally incapable of empathy.
I mean, that's a valid concern. I don't think that last bit I agree with.
Yeah.
But everything up until then, I do. I think that there are definitely some people who use religion as kind of that mainstay in those training wheels. And if you took those off, they'd probably fall over and hurt other people. But I'm curious why you don't think that secular humanism or just, psychotherapy or, different kinds of preventative measures would do the trick for that.
Specifically with psychopaths, because
why are we picking on psychopaths?
Secular, because that everyone else, they're capable of empathy, and for them, I think secular morality and all the other stuff is the right direction to go.
Why do you think that people who can't feel empathy are immoral?
Well, I think that morality is when we act on our empathy.
Why?
Because every action associated with acting on empathy is colloquially what we are talking about when we talk about people doing good. We're talking about people acting empathetically.
I mean, I'm sure empathy makes it easier.
It can be helpful.
But I don't think that it's the end-all, be-all. I think that you can objectively, rationally know what is the right answer to a question and one that would cause the least harm and choose that option just because you know that choosing a different option would probably make your life worse. Like if I don't have empathy and I see somebody and I'm driving and they're walking across the street and not using the crosswalk, I don't have to think, oh, that poor person, they will be so hurt if I hit them. I think if I hit that person, I'm probably going to go to jail. That's what would, if I didn't have empathy, that would still stop me from hitting the person.
Does that make her immoral?
Well, that's kind of getting to the point of what I was talking about. See, now we've substituted the state for God. So in a case where they know that
we've substituted what for God?
We've substituted the state, the government. So now instead of being afraid of God, because in your example, they wouldn't do it because they're afraid of getting caught by the government. Rather than being caught by God.
She was just giving an example of one reason why somebody who can't feel empathy might avoid killing somebody.
Right. It could
be
that
there could be many other things.
I would be socially isolated from the group if I was acting in a way that wasn't, in
it could be,
moral.
I don't like blood and guts.
Well,
I mean, it could be a number of things.
Yeah.
It could be I don't have time for this.
I'm specifically referring to especially situations where like they know that there won't be any witnesses and that kind of thing.
So you're not talking about all psychopaths or sociopaths. You're just talking about a small subsect that want to commit crimes and therefore will because God isn't watching them?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're not talking about psychopaths.
Right,
you're talking about people that you think are bad.
Right. Because this is a whole other topic.
Right?
Talking about people who want to do bad things because they don't believe that there will be any repercussions.
So why do you think that is... So that's the thing. When somebody does want to do something that you think is bad, what I'm confused about is why anybody else thinks that they know why that person chose to do that thing. Because the fact is that, there could be a number of reasons why anybody does anything, And I can't possibly know what is in V's head no matter what she tells me. No matter what her mother tells me about how she grew up, no matter what her best friend tells me, no matter what she tells me to my face and how I know that she's an honest person, that doesn't mean that everything that comes out of her mouth is 100% accurate. So do you see why I'm stumped?
I'm not sure.
I think the issue here is that you seem to be making assumptions about why people do bad things.
But that's the thing, is you can think that something is bad, and it could be bad for you, but it could be really good for me. You know, just to take your walking across the street example.
Yeah.
And this is just an example. It's completely hypothetical. I'm not saying that it's good to go out and hit people with your car. What I am saying is that it is possible that hitting somebody with your car may have positive consequences, okay? It's possible, yes, obviously there will probably be some bad things that are going to happen if somebody dies because they have family and people will be affected and there's all kinds of things. But it's possible that there are good things. Maybe that person was going to experience an entire rest of their life of pain and suffering, and they were about to get kidnapped. And this way, they died, you know, at least in a state that their family can remember them in a positive way. You know, there's just a multitude of things that can happen that you have no idea about that could be good for some people and bad for others, and you just don't know. So for you to say, I think that what you're doing is bad, that means that you're immoral. It's like, yeah, but...
And not just immoral, a psychopath.
Right.
No, so I think we're getting off topic here because you've moved the goalposts, right? You started out by saying, I'm worried that psychopaths who do not feel empathy and cannot
well, I did that.
use
I
that
redirected.
that without religion, they would then, you know, have problems integrating into society. And then you made the claim that secular morality or secular humanism or the state, whatever that is, and if you're the guy from Twitter, hi, because I've been talking about this with a guy from Twitter before, then...
I haven't mentioned this on Twitter.
Okay, that's another guy talking about the state. Okay. You made this claim that for some reason religion is the best way to, deter immoral action. And that's the part I
would not
disagree
say
with.
that in the general case. I would say that the narrative that something bad will happen to you by an authority figure, regardless of any living thing that is witnessing, is sort of a necessary paranoia.
Okay. Let me see if I can break this down for you just a little bit. And I'm not an evolutionary biologist or psychologist at all, but I agree that we are a social species, and one of the main reasons that we do things that benefit the group is because we are afraid that deviating from that will cost us something, whether that's access to social groups, access to food, access to shelter or safety. That is ingrained in us. And as we grew in consciousness and started coming up with reasons why we felt this way, we came up with this idea that there must be an authority figure that metes out justice because that must be why we feel this way. And then we moved away from that, hopefully, some of us at least. And now we have that same sense, and we might say, okay, well, we need to create a society that supplements this, whether that's with the justice system or whether that's with HR codes in a building, that's the way we organize society because we are a social species, and it's traceable through evolution. And God is a way to explain that, and that's a way we've explained it for a long time, and it's a very simplistic answer, so it sticks. But yeah, does that
what we
help?
What we can do in the place of religion to promote a secular worldview is to prove that there are other consequences. It's not necessarily that you're going to go to hell,
right,
or anything like that. It's these are some things that will happen when you do this. And, this is how life works. The good things happen and bad things happen. And this is how you try to navigate what's going to happen. Does that help?
Well, the problem is the psychopath would say, all right, those are the obstacles that I need to avoid to get away with this then.
No, that's
I
not
don't
what
think that a psychopath would
say.
think. I think that you're making assumptions about people that you don't know.
I mean, it could be the case that I'm not well informed enough about psychopaths.
Maybe.
But the
I think that's a problematic word to use. If you want to use
very bad case.
like bad people, bad to the bone people.
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe go, I don't know. Do a little more research on psychopaths and maybe try to see if you can find a forum and go meet some.
Well, I didn't meet one. That's why I'm calling, is because I think about how I could convince him using the tool that I use, but the secular morality that I use is based on empathy, and he doesn't see that as a valuable tool.
Okay, so that's a valid concern,
Right.
and we should have started with that.
Yeah.
I think that what you should be doing is maybe researching morality a little bit more and figuring out other ways that people define morality and ascribe to morality. Because empathy can help. It can. And a lot of people use it as a guide. But it's not the only measure.
I would also say to look up emotional intelligence and child psychology, because when you think about when children's brains are just developing and they're just learning how the world works and how to speak languages and how to dress themselves and all kinds of things like that, that's the time where they're the best at learning. And so when you're trying to teach somebody life skills, like why it's good to do things for other people, that's a basic skill that children have to learn. And so I think that if you look into child psychology, that can be helpful to you. And start looking into emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence has taught me how we can use our emotions. For example, when I feel angry, I can use, that's a really damn good motivator. You don't have to just sulk in it and just think about everything that's making you angry all the time. You can use it to go out and try to make changes and make other people happy and try to prevent other people from being angry. And so that's the thing, is when you don't experience empathy, that just means that you have another life skill, another emotional thing to learn to get over and help you navigate through the world that we live in, which unfortunately for that person, most people do experience empathy. So it just means that they have something new to navigate around, just like being left-handed. It's just something that's different, that's all.
Religion might be an easy way to keep people in line, but that doesn't mean it's the best way.
But I don't think that when you have somebody that's religious because they've been told to do that, I don't think that that's necessarily,
That's not empathy either, and that's not morality either. If you're doing things because you're afraid of punishment, then
are you being empathetic?
Yeah, then what does empathy have to do with it anyway?
Well, I'm saying that it would do something with morality if they started using it, but currently all they're aware of is obedience, and if that's what it takes to integrate them to society, then I'm not sure I want to take those training wheels away.
Well, then I'm glad that we don't give the training wheels to you.
Well,
but thank you so much.
Yeah.
I understand your frustration and I understand your concern, but what I've come down to is that it's not up to me to decide what's right for you or what's right for you. It's up to me to decide what's right for me and to fight for my rights and fight for your rights and fight for her rights. So I'm going to fight for the psychopaths too. But thank you so much for calling. Do you have anything else?
That'll be it. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah,
thank you so much. It was good talking to you. Bye.
I think I understand where that caller was coming from.
I do
for
too.
sure. And it is a valid concern. And that's why we don't just say, if I was in a position where I could phase out religion, like that, I wouldn't do it like that, because we don't have structures in place to make that transition better. So yeah, if we were to evaporate religion tomorrow, there would be
chaos,
basically hell on earth for a little bit. But we can avoid that by implementing better structures, and to just condemn a whole group of people to living in fear of everlasting punishment because you're afraid of something they may do in the future. That's not very empathetic.
Yeah. Well said.
So,
all right. So I saw on the little notes here that we are having tamales for dinner just in case anybody's watching and lives about 5-10 minutes away, get your butts up here. We've got tamales. Okay, so Joel, can you hear us?
Hi, this is Joel.
Joel, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Thank you for hanging in there. It looks like
I can't
you.
believe I'm on right now.
I'm sorry?
I can't believe I'm on right now.
Well, welcome.
Well, you are, and you're talking to Jenna and V. And it says that here that you accidentally introduced religion to your aunt. Tell us about that.
Well, in retrospect, I guess it wasn't accidental at the time. I was a believer back then in high school, and to fast forward through everything, like I've always been like questioning things. I wasn't sure that what I was believing was necessarily true.